Hey there guys, Angus from Boss Fitness of bossfitness.net, and in this video we're going to be focusing on the 5 most common fat loss mistakes. So what I see going on about there in the big bad world is so many people struggling with what I call the too much information and not enough action syndrome, and the fact that there's so much stuff going around out there where you're struggling to sort of piece it all together. So what I want to focus on today is some of the 5 most common mistakes that I see people making so that I can help to hopefully point you in the right direction. So as you can see here, we've got 5. I'm going to work through these one at a time so I can help you to gain some great clarity as to how to overcome each of these and gain further understanding as to how you can move forward and about how sort of not hard fat loss is as a whole. So the first one, as you can hopefully see here, is that many people struggle with not eating enough. So we're led to believe that for fat loss, and even just for weight loss, that it involves being hungry, that it involves cutting out lots of food, that it involves just lots of restrictions. And this is, as you can see here, number one of the sort of worst ones, which is sort of sabotaging your results. And the downside towards doing this is that when you're not eating enough, what happens is that it's going to take a toll on your metabolism. So what happens is that the body actually thinks that it's sort of going into starvation mode. So what's going to happen here is that it's actually going to start using muscle as fuel. So we'll go here, starvation mode. And then it's going, as I said before, it's going to start using muscle as fuel. The reason for that is that because your body requires energy to go about its day-to-day tasks. So what that means is that if you're not getting in enough actual fuel, your body's going to start using the muscle tissue that you've got built up to try and actually function to keep yourself moving forward. So yes, sort of going on wicked low-calorie diets and things like that will work in the short term, and you will see a bit of weight loss, but in terms of in the long term, what's going to happen is that you'll tend to sort of see, yes, your weight's going to drop, but you're going to be losing muscle, you're going to be getting what we call a skinny fat body, and it's just, it's not really ideal, and it's not going to lead you towards the dream body that you actually want. Number 2 of the 5 most common fat loss mistakes is going to extremes. And what I mean by extremes is that you're sort of maybe eating 6+ times per day, maybe 10 times per day. You're cutting out food groups, you're eliminating carbs, for example. No big meals after 6, must eat X, Y, Z for breakfast. Shedding tears over not actually getting in your 2 or 3 o'clock PM meal. So stressing out basically about things that aren't necessary. So we'll say stressing out about useless stuff. So what I find happens here is that when you're stressing out about things that aren't necessary, is that it adds unnecessary pressure towards the equation, and you're not able to function within your sort of peak state, and it means you're also going to muck around with sort of affecting your body's cortisol levels, and it really just isn't a good sort of fat loss environment, and it is a mega thing that's inhibiting your success. As you're going to learn forward, there is a far better way to do it than getting on board extremes. Our third one out of our 5 most common fat loss mistakes is hopping. Not the hopping, but program hopping, diet hopping, just looking for the next best thing to try and trigger results. So the downside to this is that you're never actually sort of fulfilling anything here. You're not actually really being taught anything from the program that you're doing or the diet that you're doing short term. It's really just not getting you anywhere. I used to be someone who would actually do this quite often, and as you're going to see from the photo just going past on your screen just now, I was someone who was really heavy in the past, and this was due to program hopping. It was due to diet hopping, just going a good 2 or 3 weeks on one program, bam, jump into the next, lasting a few days on one diet, whatever, bam, jump into the next, because obviously you want results, but by doing it this way, it's going to chunk more and more at your metabolism, kind of like the extremes and not eating enough, and really just put your body into a bad place, which you do not want. And number 4 out of our 5 most common fat loss mistakes is letting loose. So this is also known as cheat meals, cheat weekends, the mindset where you just sort of have, I've been good all week, I'm just going to, go to town or whatever on the weekend. This is a massive mistake, and something which I actually used to struggle with for some time. The downside here is that because you're going for, I guess, like a period of restriction where you're not actually eating much food, or where you're eating low calorie or just eating super clean, and then when you have those 1 or 2 days where you just let loose and eat whatever, chips, chocolate, you just pretty much go into town, yeah? Because what happens is that for that cheat meal or cheat weekend, because you're ingesting so much food and so much energy, the body's got to do something with it in terms of all the energy that you've sort of consumed. So what happens here is that the excess energy will get stored, as you guessed it, extra fat tissue on your actual body. So the idea of this and letting loose is just going to equal fat gain. Okay, you're actually not going to be losing weight doing this. You're going to be gradually gaining weight. It's not going to be ideal. So equals fat gain. Not ideal, not what we want. Bad. Okay, massive mistake. Hope you're not making this. And number 5 of our fat loss common mistakes is obsessive. So what I mean by obsessive is that you're stressing out about things like meal timing, stressing out about when you're getting in your carbs, stressing out about when you're getting in your protein, stressing out about when your biggest meal of the day should be, things like that. Know that in terms of the importance of meal timing, it's probably something that's right down the bottom amongst cardio in terms of its sort of like effect upon fat loss. What matters the most for fat loss and triggering the best results possible, as you would have seen from my before and after photo, is that it's more about nailing the energy in balance versus the energy out. So in other words, consuming enough calories and energy to trigger the fat loss which we want. And then being consistent with your exercise to ensure that when these two things are both in sync, your body's going to respond positively. It's not going to think that it's in starvation mode, and therefore it's going to gradually let go of fat. So the cool thing there is that, as we said before, if you're obsessive about meal timing, it's going to sort of suck the joy out of what you're doing, and it's not going to be fun and enjoyable, and therefore it's more going to become sort of like a short-term, or kind of feel like it's a chore rather than a long-term thing that you actually enjoy. So if you're someone who has maybe been, sort of affected by some of these common mistakes, then what I encourage you to do is to take things to the next level, and to take some action about it rather than continuing to just go through your cycle and getting nowhere. What I've actually created for you, which I want you to actually use as a means to propel yourself forward, is to get amongst my Tighten Tone 4-part video series. You're going to see a link to it below in the description box and in this blog if you're watching it. And basically what it's going to serve to do is just to open your knowledge up towards how easy fat loss can be, how simple it can be, and just understanding some more of the most common fat loss myths and hearing it live from people who I've worked with recently who have absolutely smashed their goals through the things that I teach. It's going to really set you on the right path, and obviously entirely free as well. But any questions from today's video about these 5 most common fat loss mistakes, get in touch. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Take care.